news and notes to the coaches and players for America's team, let us go inside the stars on 105.3 The Fan.
The X factor for me in this Dallas Cowboys season is Matt Eberflus and that side of the ball. We'll go through our confidence meter after minicamp at 8:40 and below the belt, but we have new sound from a familiar face around here.
Yes, Matt Eberflus had done a sit-down right at the end of minicamp with what's the Doomsday pod called with Edward or Matt Mosley?
Doomsday.
Yeah, the
Doomsday pod.
So Matt Mosley and Edward had sat down with Matt Eberflus at the end of last week and went over just several different topics relating to scheme, how he can help Brian Schottenheimer adjust, Micah usage, all that. And then we'll get in at the end of this. We'll play a little bit of his thoughts on the Caleb Williams claim that last year no Chicago coaches actually sat with him and watched film. But we'll start things off here with a very basic question. Matt Eberflus, what is the identity of your defense?
Yeah, the identity goes way back. I mean, we're talking back to the 96 Buccaneers, and that's where it goes back. This is the origin of it. And as you remember, those guys are packed with Hall of Famers and a bunch of great players. And the system allows you really to, play free. It's a disciplined defense, and it allows a lot of eyes on the quarterback, and that's where you get all the takeaways from. And it's very detail oriented, and that's what I took from Coach Marinelli when I was here with him. Took it on to Indianapolis and then up to Chicago, but it's been really good, and the guys love playing in the system because it really maximizes their talents. And helps them really produce on the football field.
And the emphasis is on stopping the run and taking the ball away?
That's it, yep. We got two things that we do. We stop the run and take the ball away. We like to score on defense, but that's really what our mantra's been, and that's what it continues to be.
Which it's easy to, in these sort of instances, take descriptions like that. Like Mike Nolan would always talk about, like, we're going to take the ball away. We're going to do, like, okay, that's goals. Those are goals that you want to have. But, I mean, clearly a lot of this, and it makes sense. Rod Marinelli was a big influence for him. Clearly a lot of this is going to be Tampa 2 influenced, even if it's not a Tampa 2 look, which the Tampa 2 is cover 2 defense, basically, and then the middle linebacker, who in the Tampa defense was Derek Brooks, who used to get all those interceptions and do all that stuff. The read is Derek Brooks goes, all right, run, you go attack, and then if he's reading pass, he drops to the middle part of the field and it becomes cover 3. So like kind of adjusts depending on what the middle linebacker reads. But you're going to see a defense, I think, that in a lot of ways still looks similar stylistically or schematically to what we had seen from Rod Marinelli for years, particularly in the defensive line rotation and the way that they rush their defensive tackles. All right.
So frustratingly good.
I mean, Rod was bend but don't break. I think Eberflus is his style is a little more aggressive, but he's definitely a focus on linebacker play and keeping things in front of you and making plays. Mm-hmm. Like basically trusting guys to make the play in their area. In fact, we can jump to that clip right now. This is clip 23, Peyton. Matt Eberflus, why have you had such success developing linebackers throughout your career?
Yeah, I played the position, and I think that when a guy plays football, at this level, they have a certain camera, in terms of how they see the game. And, some guys are fast processors, and some guys, are a little bit, not as fast. Like Sean Lee was as fast as I've ever seen. He could process, like Luke Kuechly and just boom, and hit it. But that was through a lot of film study with him and I, right up here doing Breakfast Club together. So, to me, I played a position, so I do have an advantage of how I see the game as a coach, so I can really help those guys to be able to see it. But I think more importantly, it's the skill development. And I told the defense this before they left, and I told them in the beginning, I said, we'll be two things that'll be our separator is going to be our conditioning level and our technique. And the coaches that we brought in, and I'm a stickler on technique and the details of it, but doing it game speed and doing it fast. And that's what I've always done, and that's what I did with Shan and DeMarcus, and that's what we're going to continue to do with this group.
What's up with these new coaches and their microphones?
Yeah, a lot of clicking there.
Those are the
Mosey
headsets.
Still has a 1033 headset.
Those are
rattling, barely held together.
Those are the headsets we have out at the firehouse with the long cord, and so Eberflus kept like moving his arm, and it was like brushing the thing across it. Brian Schottenheimer, obviously a first-time head coach here in Dallas, somebody who's prepped for the job for a long time. But Matt Eberflus is coming off of a head coaching job. So, Matt Eberflus, how exactly are you going to be able to assist Brian Schottenheimer as a first-time head coach?
Yeah, there's a lot of things as a head coach that you don't know that are involved in the job until you become a head coach. And we just been reflecting on that. If it's with the media or if it's with PR, whatever it might be, practice schedules, way to install the training camp, all those things. And if I see something, I say something. And that's my job as a defensive coordinator, is to help and assist the head coach, and that's what I'm doing here with Brian. And he's been great to work with, high energy, high enthusiasm, high intelligence, and we really made really good progress here in this offseason so far.
What type of dude is Eberflus?
He's got a little bit of a reputation as he can be a hard ass.
Yeah,
like he can.
That's how he seems to me. Like I feel a little scared of him.
Yeah, I think most players really like him. That's kind of why the Chicago thing was so odd, the way that it ended. Think about Rod Marinelli and his reputation. Rod was considered a guy who would bark and he'd get on you and he'd do that. But he was also the guy that everybody talked about, like, oh my gosh, he's like my dad. Like he's just such a great person to connect with. I think Eberflus maybe has a little bit more rigidity, but it's sort of the same philosophy that there are a lot of guys who have always just said, like,
less than Zimmer.
Yeah, he's less than Zimmer. He's not the same sort of. He's not got that same sort of caustic edge to him that Zimmer has sometimes. Edge. Micah Parsons is going to be a big part of anything that they do, and he'll probably be I don't know. You may not love these answers. We'll have to see here.
Right.
Couple different cuts here about Micah Parsons. First, just Matt Eberflus's early impressions of Micah.
Well, I really draw on my experience there because the first time I came here, the linebackers that I coached, were one of them was DeMarcus Ware, right? And that was really good for me in terms of the experience. First of all, I became a very good linebacker coach right away. But and I had Sean Lee and Keith Brooking and Brady James and all those guys and Anthony Spencer, but they did a heck of a job, and they still do a great job in personnel here. But to answer your question, that was really for me the experience that I had to hold everybody else to the highest standard of, hey, that's the best of the best. In terms of a rusher, in terms of a worker, and all those things. Now, Micah has all those. He really does. He has all the work ethic that DeMarcus has. He's got the power. He's not quite as big, but man, he works his butt off, and he loves football. And this guy's got high football intelligence. So I'm excited to work with him, and do some great things with him this year. And when he gets in, he gets in.
It's good. It's exactly what you'd expect to hear, is that I'm excited to work with him. And it's like, okay, but let's dig a little bit. How? Because how he was used was different under Mike Zimmer.
By the way, we always talk about changes at offensive coordinators screwing over a quarterback. Baker, how many guys?
Oh, yeah.
How many? What about for a defensive player? And how many is this for Micah now?
This is now Micah's third defensive coordinator.
Quinn, Zim,
Zim, and Eberflus.
Feels like more.
Yeah, he just missed Nolan by a year, right?
He was the year after Nolan had gotten let go.
Do you think that matters?
Yeah. It does, especially if there's
or does it matter the most for corners?
No, I think it matters for a guy like Micah, who's so clearly like varied and multiple in the way that he's used, that there's going to be a million different ideas from different coordinators on how he should be applied. Mike Zimmer had a different idea for him than Dan Quinn did. I think Matt Eberflus is going to have different ideas from both of those. And this is where we'll see if this is frustrating to RJ Choppy, or if he just thinks it's talk right here. Matt Eberflus, have you and Micah discussed specifically how he's going to be used?
We had a meeting, him and I had about a half-hour meeting yesterday on that very subject, him and I in my office. And, for him, you have to move this guy around. Now, what's great about our current roster is that we have other rushers now that can rush. So to pay attention to one particular rusher is going to be more difficult than if you just had one on one side. So that's going to be a good thing too. So we'll have to we can do less of that.
We can do less of that. And we got other rushers, and we can move them around, and we don't have to worry about necessarily just saying, Mikey, you got to go get to the quarterback every single time. Does that concern you at all, Chop? Or is that just rhetoric?
They're just talking, man. Like, you get into the game, there's going to be 50 plays that he's in, 60 plays that he's in. He's going to be rushing the passer. on basically every drop back.
I believe in Matt Eberflus's career, when he has been a defensive coordinator, which going back to college and into the NFL, when he's been a defensive coordinator or a head coach, I think he's had one pass rusher that's gotten double-digit sacks in his career, and I think it was at Missouri. I think it was somebody like Coney Ely or somebody. I can't remember who it was.
Coney Ely.
It was somebody at Missouri. It was somebody at Missouri who had picked up double-digit sacks, but he is he's routinely, or no, it was Justin Houston in Indianapolis picked up 10.5, and that's the only time that he's ever gotten double-digit sacks because it's not really the style of the defense. It's a lot of stuff where you're getting.
So you're not thinking it's a lack of talent; it's the style.
The style is going to focus so much more on penetration from the defensive tackles that basically it can spread the wealth a little bit of the sacks, and it's also about just trying to generate bad decisions and generate bad throws. So that's kind of the overview for Dallas. What about the question of Caleb Williams? Because this came up when the Caleb Williams stuff has come out. We've wondered, all right, is this an indictment of, in general, Matt Eberflus's leadership, his approach, anything else? Is that a concern? So when it was asked to Matt Eberflus, Caleb Williams says no coaches were sitting with him doing film study. What do you think about that?
I would say this, that, in the development of the quarterback position and really all positions, at my time at the Bears, we've always had daily coached film sessions. That was out through the entire year. So that's what I've observed, and that's where it was.
And they tried to hit him with like one follow-up, and he went, "That's what I observed, and that's what it was." And it's like, oh, he did not like Caleb Williams' comments then. That clearly frustrated him a little bit.
Yeah,
but
because it makes Eberflus look inadequate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and if it could have been Caleb Williams being a little flippant or maybe massaging the truth, then Eberflus is going to be like, I caught enough hell going out of there. I don't need that on my plate too. The idea that we just didn't have coaches sitting in the film room with him.
Did they ask him about time management?
I did not hear a time management question. There was so
handling of the players after
Schotty. No, they'd moved on from that pretty quick. Schotty had gotten into.
How do you think Matt would have asked that?
What do you think about your time? What do you think has been going on there?
The passage of time. There was an old poet that said, yeah. The Schotty got asked about time management recently, though. It sounds like it's going to be, the workflow will be similar to what McCarthy had used. Not necessarily the decision making will be the same, but the workflow will be the same, where they will have somebody in the booth with a headset, probably Ryan Feeder, who is giving them details about, hey, this is where we're at, this is what the numbers say, and these are your options. And then he just makes a call right there.